Hello, humans, and welcome back to third episode of People of Proxima's podcast. And today we have Selva, who's a very pure and positive soul. She is also an NFT artist, self-portrait NFT artist, and a huge supporter of the community. And more than that, she is our cat goddess. So, Selva, how are you doing?
I'm good. So wonderful to be on your podcast.
That's my pleasure. I'm very glad you joined. So let's start it's all about NFT. The podcast is all about NFT and positivity because you are so positive. Yeah. So Silva, the way you support NFT community is amazing, like amazing. So how you manage your real life and the NFT life? They both of the life are, quite different. So how you manage them?
Well, thank you for appreciating my positivity. And, at first when I got into the NFT world, I was very overwhelmed and confused by all of it. And I didn't know where to begin. But after a while, when I discovered spaces and I got into a few spaces, I was able to make some really great friends. Like the first space that I really felt at home was Said's space. And through there, I connected with Filippo and then later on with Vic and so many great people with Edison. And I was like, oh, that's great. These are my people. So for a while, I started co-hosting spaces and putting work out. And then I had a period where I just thought like, okay, that's too much. I need to scale back because for a couple of years before that, I was completely off of social media and I was just creating art. So I started to go with my energy, which is something that I'm really good at doing anyway. And I decided that just like with everything else in my life, I should go with the way my energy is. And when I feel like I want to be in spaces, when I feel I want to interact with people's posts on Twitter and be engaged in the community, do that. And at the same time, if I'm feeling like I need some time for myself or like some time for friends in real life, go with that. And I started to follow this flow. There's my cat. But, it's interesting because you never know. Like when you're living in the flow, you never know. So for example, just now I was away for 3 weeks in Santa Barbara. I was pet sitting and I didn't feel to be on Twitter at all. I just wanted to be outside.
We missed you. We missed you, right?
Thank you.
I missed you a lot.
I missed everyone, but at the same time, I was like, I have to soak up that ocean and sun energy. I really need it. I need to be outside right now. I tried to get on Twitter. I tried to get on a few spaces, and it just didn't feel like the thing to do. So I learned to honor that. And even if it's not like the most practical, let's say, or the most, predictable, it works really good for me when I go with the energy. So that's kind of what I've been doing.
That's like correct. We can't, as we know that, Twitter space can be exhausting sometimes for everybody, whoever it is. We need to take breaks, right? That's important. And the way you are managing it is quite good. Like you took off from Twitter, right? I admire that. I can't take off on now from Twitter. But you did it. I admire that. So that's amazing, right? And of course, I'm jealous from you because you were on beaches and the ocean. I'm jealous, right?
Well, because I came from winter, I was like, okay, I need to take this all in because it's happening right now. I don't know when it will happen again. And it was important for me. So even, you can say like, oh, that's bad for engagement or anything. I was like, you know what, this is what's good for me. And I believe that when we do the things that are good for us, and we fill our own cup, then we could share that energy with others. But if I feel bad, if I don't feel fulfilled, if I don't, have anything good or positive to share, I should not be out there sharing. Because it will seep out, like whatever is inside of me is going to seep out. And if I have, some energy that is not so good, I don't want to be in spaces sharing that kind of energy. I just need to sit with myself, process it, alchemize it through art or whatever else, like moving, dancing, and then give that out.
That's amazing. Like being positive, being, ourselves and, staying consistent is important. And until and unless we are not positive or we don't feel like doing something, we should not do that. Yeah. And that's what is amazing about you, that you, if you are not feeling like that, like, being on spaces, you will not be there. That's, because you need to give time to yourself. And that's important these days, because it's the part of mental health too.
Exactly.
So that's quite good.
Yeah.
So, we all know, like most of people who are watching this might know that you are a self-portrait artist by now. So what brought you into this huge sea of NFT? Like we say open sea. So how you came into this huge NFT sea?
It's the most bizarre story, just like pretty much like everything in my life that has taken me, like on my course. But I've been doing photography for 12 years, and it all started with a 365 project. Like you, I have an English degree. That's what I went to university for. And then I randomly picked up that project, and through it, that's how I started to do my first self-portraits. And then photography was a hobby, then turned into a business. And self-portraits were always a way for me to express my own emotions, and something that I didn't feel like sharing so much, but I felt like this is just my thing and I'm doing it for myself. So I started a website a couple of years ago when I all of a sudden was doing these self-portraits with plants, which came out of nowhere seemingly. And I had an Instagram for a while. And through my Instagram last year in March, this guy connected with me, and he was asking me if I have an invitation for foundation. So I was like, what is foundation? And then he's like, well, it's a
kind of
marketplace. And I was like, what are NFTs? Because I didn't know anything. So he sent me a video, he tried to explain, and I said, listen, I'm sorry, I cannot help you, but I can imagine that you got the invitation because I'm really good at manifesting things for people. So, he kind of believed me, and I said, good luck, you're going to get it. And then he ended up getting his invitation, and he said whenever he sells a piece, he will invite me too. And I had no intention to do NFTs. I didn't understand them at the time. But I thought, well, that's really sweet. And that's where I left it. So in August, I was again on a trip to California. And this other friend of mine from Instagram was mentioning NFTs. And I thought, okay, this is something that's coming up for me again. And maybe I need to look into it. And even though it sounds like intimidating a little bit because I know nothing about it and nothing about cryptocurrency, I should look into it. So when I came back, I started to watch YouTube videos. And then that first friend had an invitation for foundation. And he messaged me and he's like, you need to get on Twitter. You need to get your wallet and you need to start like posting your work and making NFTs. And I was like, okay. So I just like did it on a Friday. I did like everything and he was kind of, holding my hand. And then he said that I just need to connect with people on Twitter and share my art. And that's how it started.
That's a quite amazing story. Like not knowing what is cryptocurrency to selling your art on NFT and OpenSea and, helping other people in the community and the spaces, motivating them. That's quite good. Like I also didn't know anything, but due to joining your spaces, big spaces, Allison's, and many other spaces, I know a lot of things now. A long way to go, but yeah, that's how we start. Like without knowing anything to where you are today. That's like fabulous.
And the community is so amazing, like what you're saying, because it was from coming to spaces and talking about my art, because my art is so unconscious for me. Like I just do it. And it was so hard initially to talk about what I do and explain it. But being in the spaces and hearing other people talk about their art helped me so much. And then initially, like the first week that I joined spaces, I would cry because I felt like this is the community that I've been longing for like my whole life. And I had this vision when I created my website about a world where people are just like selling their art and being free and everybody's following their passion and doing their own thing. And because everybody's doing their own thing, they're happy and they're supporting each other and thriving. And then I was like, oh, wow, this is like my vision come true. And it is possible. And people are really like super kind. And if you have a question, I reached out in the beginning to people that I had connected with. and they would immediately, like give me an answer, help me. And it felt so amazing. So, and after the initial thing about NFTs, I was blown away by the community. And I thought, this is where I need to be because of these people, like they're my people.
Exactly. Like you mentioned community and spaces. That's what NFT have created for us. Before NFT, Twitter was nothing. Like people used to come on Twitter and it was all politics on there.
Yeah.
But now it have been so different. Like I am on Twitter for like around from 2017, and I started my Twitter properly using. I started to use it last year in December.
Yeah.
And I came to know how it have changed, how it is changing my life, and helping me to meet new people like yourself, like amazing people, and it's quite good. Like it's amazing.
Yeah, I agree with you. Just kind of like we compared it in spaces if you've seen that movie Midnight in Paris, of how like in Paris the artists had this community and they would gather in like certain coffee shops or bars and exchange ideas and talk about their art. And in spaces, it's been feeling like this, especially in stage spaces, big spaces, we have people come from everywhere, and Violetta like singing and other people singing. You sang, you played your guitar in a space,
Yeah, I
in
played my
Allison's
guitar.
space.
Allison's space. Yeah.
Yeah, and it feels like almost like we're together in a space and everybody's sharing a little bit of their art, a little bit, of their soul, talking about beauty, talking about difficult things too, and being vulnerable and sharing how, the art is helping us so much to process difficult feelings. And now with everything that's happening in Ukraine, people coming together to support the artists and the artists in Ukraine themselves, keeping creating art because that's helping them. So for me, that's so amazing. Like when else before we could come together like that and in such a
Exactly.
constructive and positive way talk about the things that matter to us and share beauty. It's incredible.
Exactly. Like you mentioned Ukraine, I saw many spaces supporting Ukrainian artists as well as Western artists because people of Russia don't want war, right?
Yeah.
They are also against the war. So people are coming together, supporting both the artists of both of the countries, and like they are, so motivated there that because they can in the times of war they can at least help their families, help themselves, and make a living out of this NFT. That's the power, guys. That's the power of space. You are missing if you're not on Twitter. That's the power.
Yeah, yeah, it's amazing. And I created a note in the beginning with all the resources that help me, and I keep it on my phone. And I share with people all the time, try to bring them into this world because I know that there are a lot of people that create art and they're missing that community. And like you said, I haven't been on Twitter before, but when I mention it and they're like, oh, Twitter, I don't want to be on Twitter. And I'm like, I'm not talking about Twitter. I'm talking about NFT Twitter. And that's like a whole different ball game. And it's a completely different world in reality. And unless you come into spaces, unless you communicate with people and connect, you do not know. And you just have to experience it to know for yourself.
Exactly. Like, what do you think? Like, how NFT have changed the life of people? Like, it have changed my life quite a bit. So, what do you think? How it is changing the life?
Well, I think like we're coming together as a humanity. And instead of, having these borders of countries and nationalities and all these kind of things, we're able to share as human beings the things that are important to us. And we feel like we're connected, like nothing is standing, between us. And the coolest thing is that not only you can share your art, get feedback, have it appreciated. Maybe, like your parents do not care about your art. Maybe people in your community do not understand it. But through the NFTs, you can connect with people that get it, that are also open, to the universe and to the cosmic and just, want to discuss ideas. And not only they can understand your art, but they can encourage you, they can support you financially, which is so empowering. So I think like together, collectively, we're empowering each other. Also, like what I noticed, is, like people that are into NFT Twitter and the community are a lot more emotionally intelligent. And a lot of us have had different experiences. Maybe, like we've traveled a lot or lived in different countries, and there aren't like as many prejudices. And what I love the most is that we appreciate the diversity. Instead of being afraid, like, oh, you're different than me, or you're from this country, whatever, it's more like, oh, wow, like, Luigi, your imagination, this is fascinating, like, how did you come up with that? And for me, that is the beauty, because we are like one, we're one humanity, but at the same time, we are individual expressions of, whatever you want to call it, God, the universe, life, source. And that individuality is what is so precious. And to be able to express your individuality, be authentically you, share the art that is coming through you, and, be accepted and celebrated instead of judged by people who are narrow-minded or afraid. It's the most beautiful thing ever, because when you have that acceptance, you can continue to develop in that respect. And I think this is what the world needs right now. People that are healing themselves, that are working with their emotions, and that are actively, just putting these positive vibrations and like the alchemized work through art out there to support everyone else.
Exactly, like people coming together, sharing their experience. Like, I'm from India, you are from different part of the world, Vic is from different part of the world, everybody is from different part of the world, but we are coming together, sharing the experiences of our life, of our project, of our art, and people are not judging it. People are understanding it and trying to feel what the person who's speaking is feeling. They try to empathize it. So I think you're right that it is changing everybody's life in a positive way, of course, and making people like feel better. And I think because of NFT and Twitter space, we will rise above the discrimination among the caste, race, whatever we discriminate about. We are rising above that, and that's the most important, because as we know that war is going on between Ukraine and Russia, and also in China, China and Taiwan is also kind of heated up. I see your cat is quite interested in to be on the camera. She is.
Oh my God, it's all about attention.
She's good. She's good. So, how these people are supporting each other of Ukraine or Russia, like they are not against each other now.
Yeah.
They are supporting each other. They are coming together against the war, against and against the bad things, negative things happening. So that's how it is changing. That you are absolutely
precisely. We have like this elevation of consciousness, and to realize like we're so much more than the color of our skin, than the country we're born in. And those things should not be a hindrance to us. We should celebrate our differences, and they shouldn't matter. And we can really like come together, like what you're saying, like we can support the Ukrainian and the Russian artists, because it's not their fault that they were born in these places and somebody said, okay, now I want your territory. And we're all in this together, and let's focus on beauty, let's focus on art, let's shift collectively the focus of the world from power struggles to love and appreciation and connection, because that's what everybody longs for. Exactly. It's just a matter of, becoming emotionally mature to be able to say it, and instead of through manipulation and conflict, being able to come together in vulnerability and openness.
Exactly, like people are becoming more mature emotionally, mentally due to these spaces, and people who are watching this and are not on NFT and Twitter, guys, you are missing. Again, I am saying you guys are missing some amazing positive togetherness, and you will rise above the discrimination. Just join it, guys.
Precisely.
So,
I'm a huge advocate for that as well. Now I tell people, like, when else can you hear somebody's story directly from the person and their experience? And they can tell you that's how it feels for me. And you can, like I said, like empathize and have like your world expanding. It's amazing.
that's true. Like, people who are watching might be beginners. You guys might be beginner, but you guys can, join Vic spaces and Silva spaces, Ellison spaces, and a lot more amazing spaces. I will be hosting spaces. You can join my spaces too, and you will find these guys there, of course. And you will get to know, guys, that what is NFT, how to start with it. If you are a beginner, I will leave her Twitter's handle and the description. Go and follow her. You will get to know a lot of things. So as we are talking about beginners, so how will you define NFT to the beginners? Like how it is, if I am a beginner, then how will you explain it to me?
Well, the way I would say it, maybe it's like a world of possibility. But the easiest way I think to explain it is that it is a piece of art that you can create, you can put on the blockchain, and you can connect with people through it and make money from it. And it's just kind of like a piece of magic somehow. Because when else could we really bypass all these middlemen and things in the middle, and you can just create your art, mint it as an NFT, knowing that it's certified, like it's yours, you created this thing, and then immediately have this wide audience that, can view it and connect with it and purchase it without having to, be making prints necessarily or like exhibiting it in a gallery. So for me, it's kind of like the best way that gives you so much freedom, because you could be creating what you want, you could be traveling, you could be living anywhere that you want to, and at the same time you can connect with audience from all over the world. So it's something that is uniquely yours, that you're putting out there, and somebody can connect with it and buy it like at this moment.
That's true. Like, we can put it on the blockchain, and if you are an artist or painter, or you are a portrait artist or any artist, if you put it on blockchain, opens your foundation, whatever it is, people might connect to you, right? That's amazing. Like, people might connect, they might follow you, try to talk to you via spaces or Twitter chat or whatever, and you will get a new friend. Who knows?
Exactly. And the way I try to explain to people is, how we all use social media like Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and people have these Instagram accounts that they put so much effort into, and the grid that they create. And for me, it was like, instead of putting art on Instagram, where maybe somebody connects with it, maybe they don't, maybe they comment, maybe they don't, why not the ones that I want mint as NFTs, and then promote them on Twitter and share them on Twitter. And on Twitter, the likelihood that somebody will engage with your art is so much bigger. The possibility of having spaces where you could actually talk about your art, so much more awesome. And then you're not only putting that art out there, but somebody can buy it and support you. You can make more art. So it's so much more it makes so much more sense to create the NFTs and be in that community versus just put it on Instagram, where maybe you get likes and you have that gratification, but the connection ends there. Whereas on Twitter, you can connect in such deeper way, discussing the art, and people having questions like, why did you create this? How did you create this? Or this reminds me of that. And it's so much more nurturing and enriching. That's
true. We don't get that kind of audience on Instagram that we're getting on Twitter. First of all, that's the thing. What I personally feel is, 10,000 Instagram followers is equal to 1,000 Twitter followers.
Yes.
That's the power. That's the connection.
Yeah.
Right. we get less followers. We might get less followers on Twitter, but the power of those followers are more than the power of 10,000 Instagram followers.
Precisely.
Because it's about connection, it's about understanding. We are understanding more on Twitter. We might sell, of course.
Yeah.
We can sell on, with the help of Twitter, on OpenSea, on Foundation. People are selling, and that's the second amazing part.
Yes, yes. But the connection, the community, like what you're saying is, for me, that's the most precious, because these people that I've connected with in spaces, I know that if we meet in real life, we're just going to be friends like right away. Because you have that closeness already. You connect through the art, you connect through the sharing, you're open, you're vulnerable. And that's the most beautiful thing, because this is how we are. Like when you look at little children can be at the playground and they start playing something, the other children join. They don't care what's your name, what do your parents do, what do you do, how much money you have, or any stuff like that. They're just, like joining in. And in spaces, like for me, that's how it's been feeling. Like somebody will join in, we start talking, and all of a sudden you feel like really connected to that person. And it's the greatest feeling, because they're open, you're open, and those connections are what sustain us, because we're not like isolated, like individuals, but we as humans, just like animals, we're like a pack animal kind of thing. And we need the sharing, we need the vulnerability. And yeah, like you said, if we can sell the art and make money from it, even better.
Yes, that's better. Like, what else we need? We are making friends, and with that we are making money. What else we need?
Exactly. Right. It's kind of like the best.
And the best thing ever can happen to human.
Yes.
Right. Like, I have made a lot of friends on Twitter.
Yeah.
Like, not to mention, I don't have to mention them, because of course you are there, Vic is there.
Yeah.
Like, I always mention you guys as my friends, because you are supporting, you are so supportive, motivating, and so positive, of course. So I know if the people I have met on Twitter, I met them in real life, we will be besties. We might be besties. Who knows?
Right.
Because being honest, I don't have that much friends in my real life.
Yeah.
I have more friends on Twitter. Yeah. That's the difference.
Well, that's how I felt, joining Spaces initially. I was like, oh, wow, I just want to be Spaces all the time. And when I was in California, that space that Allison did with Filippo and the singing, and I had to go on a hike, and I really didn't want to leave that space, because it was so great. And I feel that connection, And sometimes in real life, a lot of people are still very closed off. They have lots of fear, lots of barriers. So you can know a person for 10 years, but they just never open up, because they haven't
Exactly.
gotten to know themselves and face themselves and deal with their emotions. So there's this facade and closeness and just kind of everything's fine. Whereas I feel most of us, maybe because we're artists and we have done more self-exploration, we have a lot more curiosity, we are more open, and that allows the connection to happen, which the connection is always there. It's just you removing the barriers that have been placed in the way.
That's true. It's amazing on Twitter.
Yeah.
And people are missing it. If I tell you, being honest, I have less than 100 followers on Instagram and more than 300 followers currently. I joined Instagram 5-6 years back.
Okay.
And Twitter in December.
Uh-huh.
So I have more followers on Twitter now.
Yeah.
More following on Twitter, and that's better. That's amazing. That's fabulous.
Yeah.
So we are talking about NFT. So what inspires you about NFT?
What inspires me? I think all these things that we're talking about, the NFTs is the community, the connection, the freedom that it allows. And never before have I thought, that I can support an artist directly. My friend Irina created this gorgeous, gorgeous piece called Sun, and I resonated so much with it because, the name that I picked for myself, the acronym of my real name, Ava Sol, Sol means sun, and I'm very inspired by the sun. So when I saw this piece, I was like, I need to get this. And then she was able, like with the money to support her family in Ukraine. And for me, that was so humbling because when else could you do something like that? Like before you donate to some foundations, organizations, how much of the money that you give directly reaches anybody, you never know. But for me, this direct connection, or like somebody having a difficult moment and reaching out to you in a DM and you being able to share something supportive or just be there for them, that connection is what inspires me the most. And the freedom that it allows us to create, to connect, to support ourselves. It's just empowerment, like moving away from codependence into this beautiful interdependence where, like you're creating your art, you're doing your thing, I'm creating my art, I'm doing my thing. We come, we share, we connect, we support one another, we retweet one another's work, or like I sell some work, I'm able to buy some of your work. And it's just this beautiful cooperation happening that is very natural, like so much flow. And also, having my art appreciated, having my art seen, having somebody connect with it and say, wow, that really like makes me feel, or like, wow, that really like makes me think, or like, wow, after seeing your self-portraits, I'm inspired to do self-portraits. And that's just the most beautiful thing, to know that what you're doing is something that like inspires other people, can help other people. It's helping yourself as well. And it's like, the human body and all the cells and the organs, how they exist together. I feel the same like with the NFTs, we're coming together as humanity, but instead of having those artificial divisions by countries and nationalities and whatever, we're regrouping based on what is inside of ourselves. And having like, and humanity is starting to function a lot like smoother like this, because there are certain things I'll be good at that other people are not so good at, and other things that other people are great at that I'm not so good at. And if everybody does what they're passionate about and what comes natural and easy, then we can have this beautiful flow of people that are content and happy because they're following their purpose and contributing and harmonizing with one another. So that's what inspires me the most.
That's after listening to you, I'm more inspired after listening to your inspiration.
Oh, good.
Because of course, you're so motivating all the time, and also like making connections. I'm on Twitter from, as I said, from December 2021, and I have made it so many connections. I have met so many amazing people. I have met discussed a lot of things. Not only NFT, more than NFT, we have discussed a lot of things. We hold the singing, platforms every other day. We share stories, and the beautiful part is like listening to those singers like Violetta and Filippo.
Yeah.
I heard those guys. I said, these are the real singers. Because singers, the singers we see on television, they use auto tuners and all that stuff. But those people are so real. Their voice is so amazing. Like I could hear Violetta like 24/7.
Right. And they just like when they sing, they transport you in that different place because their singing comes from their heart and their soul. And after I hear them in spaces, I always think like, I'm just so grateful that I can connect through this phone to all of these like real humans, who know they have a heart, who know they have a soul, and they're freely sharing their gift and talent with all of us. And we can laugh together, like we can experience this whole other dimension of life together. We can connect in so many beautiful ways together, and and also like inspire each other's art, because I had that last collection that I created on OpenSea Light Beam. It was inspired by the NFT community as a whole, because I created the self-portrait from a space that was like Q space, and the homework was to do like a nude self-portrait. So it's like, okay, let me experiment with something different. And my friend Victor had these gorgeous images with a model and lace and the shadows on her body. So I thought, I really want to do something like that. And I experimented and created some self-portraits. And then I was curious about the generative like collections with the eye and like how all that happens. And I thought, I do not understand this at all. I don't know how to do it. But what I could do is edit this one single photo in different ways. So I took this one photo and edited it in 101 different ways, just intuitively. I did it in like 3 evenings. I would sit down and create because I was feeling, the energy and being creative. And I really liked what came out because for me, it was a symbol of that, like the community having all of that diversity, but at the same time, unity. And like we're united, like we're one soul and having all of these expressions and all of these imaginations. And that was like the one thing that was truly like art inspired by being in the NFT community for 5 months. So that was cool that, we can inspire each other artistically as well.
Exactly. Like we on NFT's platform, we can inspire each other like on every way possible.
Yes.
Like through arts, through, our stories, everything. Like that's what I also admire about it a lot. That's what inspires me. That's why I am, sleeping at 4 a.m. every day. I want, because there are people they are my friends on Twitter who are from different time zones, and I want to see their art, see their new art, resonate with it, listen to their stories, and that's what keeps me motivating.
Yeah, it's amazing. It's kind of like, and so many people say the same in spaces that all of us have been longing for this thing our whole lives, and now that we have it, it's almost kind of like, oh, this is so amazing. I don't even want to get off Twitter. But again, like you have to be mindful of the self-care. And you have to like fill your own cup and get some sleep, get some good food, get some exercise because you don't want to like burn out.
That's true. That's also important, like exercising and of course mental health. That's more important because sometimes it's exhausting. So, if we are talking about mental health, so what advice would you like to give to people to maintain their mental health when they're on NFT or Twitter spaces?
I would say nature. For me, like nature helps me the most. And there are wonderful people that are hosting spaces with meditations, spaces about mental health. And for me, the best thing about mental health has been to just follow yourself. And be mindful of your own energy. Be mindful of where you are. Don't compare yourself to other people. Because we're all different, and a lot of times the things that we see on the outside, it doesn't mean that this is how this person is on the inside or that's what's happening in their life. So comparison is really bad for our mental health. But when we realize that we're all like here, we're all moving along, everybody has their own path, everybody has, like their own dream and destination that they're going to, you can just kind of like relax and focus on yourself. And be happy for others. Like, I never understood like envy or jealousy because for me, like when I see somebody like selling or somebody creating great art, I can only be happy because this person is happy. And if you manage to join into the happiness, it's so much better for you because you're experiencing that emotion as well. And because you're experiencing it, you're putting it out, which means that you will attract the thing that makes you feel that. And sometimes, like if I catch myself, just thinking negatively about something or feeling a little bit down, the best thing for me is get some sun, pet my cats, do something that makes me happy, which is simple, like move, either dance a little in my living room or go for a walk, pay attention to nature. And I love this quote by Lao Tzu. It's called like, nature doesn't hurry, yet everything gets accomplished. So
Exactly.
sometimes if we see other people accomplishing things, or like putting out lots of art or whatever, and we can get intimidated and say, oh, wait a minute, like they're doing all of this and I'm not doing anything, or my art sucks, or my art is not selling. But you shouldn't think like that. You could just be like, okay, I'm happy for this person. That's where they are on their journey right now. My own time will come, like whatever is right for me is going to come. And I don't need to beat myself up, but just go with your own energy. And for me, when I go with my own energy, I can create a collection in like 2 weeks if I'm feeling, like that. I created light being like that. Or for 2 months, I may not do anything. But it means
That's
that
true.
this is what's right for me. This is my pace. And that's what I need to honor. And if we just like honor that thing about ourselves, like listen to that inner voice and follow that, that's when we're going to be at peace. And when you're peaceful, your mind is at peace.
That's true. Like, I have seen many people on Twitter spaces that they get exhausted a lot,
Yeah.
but they're not giving time to themselves.
Yeah.
So, being, giving time to yourself, going out in nature,
Yeah.
and, as you say, dancing by yourself, that's
Yeah.
most important. These things are most important for the mental health. Because if our mental health is not good, if the creators, artists' mental health is not good, they're not, it will affect that our work, our, NFTs. It will be showed automatically in the NFTs, the art we will create, that we are not feeling like doing something.
Yeah.
And mostly people get demotivated due to not selling anything,
Yeah.
not making sales, but we should not compare, as he said, we should not compare our first chapter to somebody else's 20th chapter.
Yeah.
That's most important, because it's possible that somebody else have started a year ago and you're starting, it's your first month, right?
Yeah.
That's important. Like Board Ape Yacht Club, I see people are comparing BAYC Board Ape Yacht Club to their projects.
Yeah.
That doesn't make any sense because they started 4 years back.
Yeah. And I believe like when you go with your own energy, you have your own timing, just like everything in nature has its own timing. And nature has been a big inspiration for me. Because, like the fruit trees, they will bloom different time every year. And different fruit trees bloom at different time themselves. So I believe that when you go with your own energy, you will actually exert a lot less effort. And it could seem like right now you're not moving, but then when you get the impulse to move, instead of, just like climbing slowly and having so much effort or whatever, you can take one leap because you have that energy. And for me, I know like through my personal experience, that's how things work out for me. If I'm not pushing them, they happen on their own really easy. And I've learned that this applies to everything. When I go with that energy, something on the outside could say, like, in order to accomplish this, you need to be this many hours in Twitter Spaces every day. You need to post this many times at those hours or whatever. And for me, that feels very rigid and constricting and doesn't feel right. I'm not feeling it. But if I go with my own energy, which is kind of sporadic and all over, and maybe, like one day I post 5 things, another day nothing, and then I'm gone for 3 weeks or whatever. But then when I show up, I could show up in one space, like that happened to me once. I really wanted to be in that space. I got invited by Alexa, and I'm talking about my art, and all of a sudden I'm getting these emails from OpenSea. Your item sold. Your item sold. I was like, what is happening? Which is so exciting because this collector, like Cam, found my art and he really connected with it, and that's what I wanted. Like I want somebody to connect with my art, so it just happened so effortlessly, and that's what I believe in. And I know it's not for everybody, because sometimes people feel like they need to have this schedule and they need to have this plan. But my way is to not go with anything on the outside, but just go with what I'm feeling inside and take time to listen to that voice and tune into that energy. And then things happen much easier for me.
That's true. Like going with the own space and going with our own energy instead of seeing different people what they're doing.
Yeah,
We should go with our own energy. Like that's most important for the mental health.
yeah,
Or keep going and selling, of course, and
yeah,
spaces and creating an amazing or fabulous art.
yeah,
That's important. The energy which we hold inside ourselves is different from the from other person, and that's important to understand our energy.
yeah.
If we don't understand our own energy, we will be like not be able to create something amazing which somebody else will be able to resonate. That's
Exactly,
important.
exactly. When you turn within, and sometimes there's time to create a bunch of art, other times it's time to like market it. And you're just gonna know when you have the right energy for what and use it accordingly.
Exactly, that's true. So, like my next question is,
Yeah.
there are a lot of scammers on the NFT spaces, and if like you might have got some kind of scams mails or
Yeah.
DMs, so how do you tackle it? Like, what guide or what tips you might give to the beginners, like to tackle these scammers?
Well, I'll say again the energy. But in this way, I might be a little crazy. But I practice this a lot. I believe that where attention goes, energy flows. So if there is something that I don't want in my life, I ignore it completely and I say that doesn't apply to me. So when I see a post about scammers, I'm like, that doesn't apply to me. I don't even want to read it. I don't want to engage with it. And I just put this good energy out that for me, scammers don't exist. And also, with that said, just, be conscious and have just this practical awareness. If somebody's messaging you, if something sounds too good to be true, if they're super nice to you, and then you ask them a question and all of a sudden they're like, well, why would you be asking that? And turn like this, then something is fishy out there. So just kind of like use your best judgment. Don't rush into things. And if you need a little bit of time to respond and to connect with other people and ask and inquire, do that because we don't know. And like for me, that's so much better. And if it's like a legitimate person, they're going to be okay with you taking some time before you answer their question. It's usually like scammers put that pressure on you. So if there is something that you feel is suspicious, pause, don't do anything. DM some of your friends and ask them,
That's
hey, how does this sound to you? Or like, have you heard about this person or whatever? And then get back to the thing. And that's the best. And I've had like people reach out to me like, hey, what do you think about this? And I'm like, I'm not sure. Maybe, you need to check it out and ask a few other people. So it's good that we have that community. And yeah, just kind of don't feel rushed to reply to anything and do a little bit of research first.
That's true. Like, so guys, be aware of these scammers and go with the energy. If you feel like they are too good to be true, just ignore them. That's important because if somebody is giving you a huge amount of money in the name of NFT or anything else or on any different platform, just understand that it's too good to be true. And
Yeah.
ask your friends, ask some people who are good at it, and you might understand that it's fake.
Yeah.
So
And the good thing is like when you reach out, like always people respond, like you can DM 5 people at the same time and chances are in like 10 minutes you get at least 3 answers. So that's the best thing about having a community.
that's true. That's the best thing. Like we can DM our friends, which we made on community and spaces, and they will surely help.
Yeah.
That's what it is. Like I am getting help from a lot of people on my project. They're guiding me. If I'm wrong somewhere or if someone is trying to scam me, I just DM them and they let me know, man, this is fake, or just be aware of these kind of people. So join the spaces and make some good friends. That's important.
Yes.
So as we all know that, you are the most positive person I have met in my life till now, being honest. So how you always stay this positive. I know that you might have some ups and downs, everybody has, so you might also have. But what I feel is you are able to maintain your positivity. So what, how you do that basically, like, if any tips, especially for me.
Well, I realized actually, like being in a space with Allison, I realized that I'm really good about processing my negative emotions. And from spaces, I realized that I do it through creating art. And maybe like the secret is to feel your feelings. And I'm not always that positive. Like I have days that I don't feel so good. But what I do in those days is just I allow myself to feel how I feel. And if I want to cry, I cry. If I want to listen to sad music, I listen to sad music. If I don't feel like talking to anybody, I don't talk to anybody. And a lot of like the art that I've created has come from like difficult emotions and like pain and sadness and grief that I had to do something with it. And I wasn't even thinking, I just started to create art. So that has helped me tremendously, and somehow it has happened for me. But I would say like the way to be positive would be to not like push away and suppress and repress the negative feelings. But when they come, to allow them, and feelings are like clouds in the sky. They come and they go. And there is this kind of like neutrality where you can exist most of the time. And when you realize that the joy will come, it will go. The pain will come, it will go. Nothing will stay forever. If you feel pain, if you allow yourself to feel it completely, it will pass through you and it will go away. And actually, like what can leave you is the gift. And you can like alchemize it like that, because like emotion is energy in motion. Whether it's positive or negative, it has the same charge. Like that's a lot of energy. And if you allow yourself to feel it, and you can like learn to transmute those negative emotions into art, into something creative. I feel like a lot of people probably like do that with exercise. Let's say they're like boxing or whatever, like using that energy, like that anger. So as long as you're not dumping it on somebody else, and as long as you're not sitting in it, but you find a way to move it somehow, it's the best. And in order to experience a lot of joy, you have to be open to experiencing the pain. So my art has been about uniting these opposites and realizing that they're one, and not shying away from the one or the other, because most people, they'll just like stay right in the middle in one dot and not feel much of anything, be kind of lukewarm. But the middle is the whole space between the two opposites that are seeming opposites. So if you can move way in one direction and way in the other, then you can kind of figure a way to be balanced between the two and how to cope with that. So yeah, the best is just feel your feelings, and when you're feeling something, allow yourself to feel it. Don't project it on somebody. Like if you're angry, say, I'm really angry right now. I'm not going to talk to you right now. I'm just going to go and, like go for a run, or, like listen to music, or like beat my pillow, whatever it takes for you, and release that energy. And through releasing it, you just give it this outlet, and you can stay positive. And I mean, there's so many things to be grateful for. So the way I start my days is I'm always grateful for the sun. I'm grateful that I wake up and I'm alive. Our bodies are such miracles. I look at my cats and I think like there are these miracles, and like I get to live with them and take care of them. So there's always,
that's a miracle,
right? Like there are always like beautiful things to focus on, and there are always really shitty things to focus on. But I like to get on Twitter, and when I see, like my friends selling art or posting something pretty, and I can engage with it and comment on something, it just makes me feel so great, because I feel connected to all of this, and go out in nature and notice, like what's happening right now, and soon it will be spring here, things will start to bloom. So I don't take any of those like little things for granted. I think that they're miraculous. And everything is miraculous. And if we choose to see it like that, there is no way to not be in awe with life and be happy.
Absolutely. Like whenever someone feel low or whatever they feel, sad or they feel angry, we should feel what we are feeling. We
Yeah.
should not ignore the feelings. That's hurting because we dump if we don't feel what they are feeling, we dump our feelings. They get stored and stored inside us, and one day they just come out and burst
Yeah.
altogether. And that's more hurting. That's more problematic.
Yeah, and I like it when
So
I'm sad, like because I kind of observe myself from above. So like when I'm sad, I'm like, wow, like I almost kind of like laugh at myself, and I'm like, look at you right now, and I'll listen to some sad music and like take a bath and go to bed and just be sad. But it's okay, like why judge it? Why should only happy be good? Like sad is good too, and a lot of great things can come from sadness. And if we're not judging the feelings, but we're allowing them, and Rumi has a poem like that this being human is the guest house, and every day a new feeling. And he says, just welcome them all. And for me, that's really the secret, to allow yourself to feel all of your feelings and give them expression.
that's true. So, guys, you heard our cat goddess that we should feel what we are feeling, and that's that will work according to me because that's how we stay positive and feel what you feel. Don't dump your feelings. That's
Yeah.
it. Don't let them burst out together. So that was my last question. And guys, go and follow our cat goddess, Selva. You can find her Twitter link in the description and also join her Twitter spaces. Those are amazing, full of positivity, full of songs, of course. And do subscribe the channel and show some love. Share about NFT, share about what you feel and feel. Don't dump your feelings. That's it.
Thank you so much.